older is a fact of life. Everybody's doing it. In today's world of modern medicine and science, more people are entering that mysterious stage of life than ever before in all recorded history. You know that if you live long enough, growing old is going to happen. The real challenge is how to do it gracefully. Well, let's just say we have some good news to share with you about this. Stay tuned. Could we not say that everyone who survives the first 60 years of their life crosses a mysterious threshold, sometimes referred to as the autumn of life? Hello, my name is Rosemary Ryan. I am a school sister of Notre Dame. I belong to a group of women who are really about bringing good news to you, especially the kind we find in the gospel. That kind of good news we experience deep within us. In January of 2006, newspaper headlines heralded the exciting news that the first baby boomers turned 60 years old. Many of us who belong to that generation know there is a flip side to that announcement. It's not as glamorous as it may sound at first. Today's program reveals an aspect about aging that we call a fierce blessing. Perhaps what we most fear about aging centers around the idea of loss. Over time, there is a loss of family, of those who have died and gone before us. There is the loss of physical abilities that we once took for granted. And especially, there is the loss of our mental capacities that keep us in touch with the world around us. More specifically, there is nothing more frightening to many people entering the autumn of their lives than the disease we know today as Alzheimer's disease. Wayne and Terry Baltz co-authored the book entitled Fierce Blessing. Terry's mother had Alzheimer's disease in the later years of her life. Sister Kathy Schmittgens interviewed Terry and Wayne about their book and their experience with Alzheimer's disease for today's program.
Terry and Wayne, thank you for being with us today. Can you talk about how your book, Fierce Blessing, came into being?
Fierce Blessing, we wrote it because of our experience with my mother. And my mother began to have changes in her behavior. Could have been something as simple as she needed thyroid, or her medications were mixed up, or she wasn't taking them quite right, or she had too much. And so we needed to find out what was wrong, and we brought her to where we were living to be diagnosed, and we found out that she had Alzheimer's disease. And that changed all our lives tremendously. And through our experience of being with my mom day in and day out and following her through this illness, we had so much that we learned, and we wanted to do something with that. And being writers, we had written 4 children's books, it was just natural to me to think, I'd love to write a book about this experience. And so we started to take extensive notes. Wayne and I always had taken some notes in our journals about what was happening, because so much was going on with her and with us, and living together for the first time, and the care from morning till night of my mother, and I became like her mother.
a lot of times it became a kind of therapy for us. So we had a huge amount of raw data when after her death, and after about a year of really what we call recovery, really was recovery on our part, before we even started writing the book.
Talk about how you chose the title, or why you chose the title, Fierce Blessing.
Terry was saying about how she was diagnosed as having probable Alzheimer's type dementia, which I say a little bit with a smile because that seems so qualified, probable. But actually that's accurate enough, fair enough, because you can't really diagnose Alzheimer's until after death, and so they were only going by symptoms and test results and so on. But in that process, from that moment that she was diagnosed, those clinicians and books that we read and other people that we met, family members who had gone through this experience themselves, said they were very meaning to be very compassionate in telling us, commiserating with us about this diagnosis and what had befallen Terry's mother. But what they said was, it's terrible. I'm so sorry. It's a terrible thing. It's the worst thing. Many people just looked at this and said, that's the worst thing that can happen, and it only gets worse every day. It was very discouraging. I mean, it was just a black prognosis and a dark future. What we found, however, and over that time, was that one is that everything that those people in books and professionals had told us was true, actually. It was a dreadful disease, and all these terrible things did happen, and it did get worse, more or less, every day. But there was another whole side to the experience, which we call that's the fierce part, and then the whole other side was this blessing part, in that we found many occasions, for one thing, for laughter. The key thing, the key blessing, was that we really learned more about what relationship is and what a human being is and what our lives are about. I mean, it confronted us with these questions. But when you're dealing with a person in this circumstance, day after day after day, and they're losing the things that we often think of as what make us human, which is our thoughts and our memories and our speech and all these kind of commonplace things that we take for granted, that really isn't what makes us human. But what we found, it kind of drew us to this deeper place of what relationship is really about. And that was a great blessing. And so we actually didn't lose our relationship with her. It changed. I feel that our relationships intensified during that time, more than they had ever been in our lives. And so that's what we wanted to try to capture, the two sides of this in a very, in a title, and that's what we came up with.
You spoke of your own journaling and how helpful that was to you. What other resources did you have to help you along the way? For example, other professionals.
I used all the resources I could out there. I went to the Alzheimer's Association. I went to a meeting or two, but I found that we were so busy there wasn't a lot of time for meetings. And I read. I always have counted on books to learn a lot. But not just books on Alzheimer's, just books on life and living and spirituality and living in the moment. My mother was a great guide at that. And the more we were in the moment together, the happier we were. And we gained something so great through all this. It was gaining this unconditional love that you always hope for in relationships. And I'm sure that when I was a baby, I could picture my mother holding me and giving me that love, and me loving her back. And here at the end of her life, when she was so sick, and she was laying in bed, and she was looking at me with that love, and I was able to accept her just the way she was and love her back unconditionally. It was the best experience you can hope for with a relationship with your mother or any loved one.
Another resource, I think, was friends. It's very often hard for people to ask for help. That is, if a friend, offers help and wants to know how to help, take them up on it and tell them how they can. Because they really, in most of those cases, all those cases probably, they really do want to be of help, but they don't know how. And sometimes it can be a very simple thing like coming over and just being with us, or having us over for dinner, or running an errand, or doing something like that. So friends were a great resource.
other thing that's really helpful is to take time for yourself, because if you don't have that, if recharging your energy, then you don't have anything to give. And so I would go up to the mountains by myself every few weeks and spend the night in our little one-room cabin, and then Wayne would do it the next time, and we would take turns, and I would be up there walking in the flowers and just, I didn't think, I didn't talk, I didn't do anything, and all of a sudden ideas, I opened my mind a little bit, and ideas would come to me, great inspirations to do when I got back. And being away from it just a little bit, in any way that you can. Some people would find prayer or meditation, which doesn't take that long, would be very helpful, or just getting away in some place so that they can find peace.
One more thing I think that comes to mind is getting help to explore, if need be, the resources that are available, the public resources.
On the more practical side, a lot of people experience guilt when they put someone they love in a nursing home. What would you say to them?
That's a hard one, the idea of putting your loved one in a nursing home and feeling like a failure, that you're not able to take care of them anymore, whether it's in their home or your home. And now it's time that you need more help, and you can't get the help you want. And that is very hard. And there's definitely guilt, and that's a part of it. Oh, that was a very difficult thing for me.
The day that we took her to the nursing home, in fact, she didn't know she was going to the nursing home, even though we had just talked about it with her and with the nursing home representative 30 minutes before. By the time we were in the car, we fully realized that she didn't really know that this is what we're doing now. And so we left her there, and she, at that last moment, called out for Terry as we were leaving and being encouraged that you have to leave now. You can't just, and that's true. At some point, you have to leave. So we left, and with her voice ringing in our ears, and we went out and got in the car and drove home. And halfway home, we pulled over, and we just both burst into tears and kind of crumbled into each other's arms, and you feel like you're not doing what you should be doing. I mean, we did come to terms with that. We were taking care of her, in fact, but we were getting help. We were doing it in a different way. We were getting her help to the best of our ability and the best resources that we had. And of course, we stayed involved. The next day, we were there again. And that happened for day after day after day for the ensuing 2 years or so that she was in a nursing home.
And you've always got the Alzheimer's Association to call on, and the person who answers the phone generally is a good person to talk to begin with, and support groups and friends. And we discovered with my mother in the nursing home that we could contribute a great deal to making the experience as good as possible. For one thing, helping people know who she is, because she couldn't express herself very well at all anymore in words. She would express it through ways that I was aware of and knew how to interpret her meaning. And so I could tell the staff, what she was trying to communicate and what she's like and what she prefers and what she gets really upset about. And so we were there as much as possible to help the staff know who she is and to make sure she got the care she needed.
Is there something in particular that you recommend that people look for when they look in a nursing home?
It's hard to say. I don't know if there's a particular thing, but maybe a process that I would recommend would be to go to the nursing home or nursing homes and just visit. I mean, go up and down the halls. There'll be lots of people who might want to say hello to you, and say hello to them. The residents, very often, residents don't have any visitors, and if they see someone new and a friendly-looking face, they may greet you. So you'll have that experience. But notice, how does the place look? And all this takes time, admittedly, but I would say don't just do that once for 15 minutes, but come and do that at some point. Come another day, maybe a different time of day. Come 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 times if you have that opportunity to kind of get a sense of how things go here. What's the mood of the staff and the residents in general? Many things of that sort. And
how does the staff treat the residents with, hopefully with respect? Hopefully they have the attitude that these are adult people who may have dementia or may not, but 80% of people in nursing home have dementia. So, so you want the attitude not to be that I'm going to treat these people like children, because they may not have the mental capacities they did, but they have lived a full, long life, and they're still real people, and they need to be treated with respect. So that's very important to watch the interactions.
And all of that is in your book.
Yeah,
We tell so
mostly
many stories in our book, from the beginning to the end, from the diagnosis to her death, and we tell all the funny stories, all the difficult stories, so that people will know what we've gone through to understand that this was no easy situation that we were dealing with. My mother was quite a character. She had personality plus. So we tell the good, the bad, and the ugly in our book through our stories, through our personal experiences, day to day, in a memoir kind of way.
Thank you both, Terry and Wayne, for sharing the experiences, your experiences with Alzheimer's. I'm sure if people get the book and read it, it will be really helpful to them as they go through it.
For more than 2 decades, about 700 sisters from the United States provinces of the School Sisters of Notre Dame, or SSND, have contributed their bodies and brains to science. The research is simply called the Nuns study. It has netted key insight and answers to the puzzles of Alzheimer's and other aging brain disorders that commonly impact the elderly.
You may have read in magazines or newspapers or seen on TV what the School Sisters of Notre Dame are doing to help unravel the mystery associated with Alzheimer's disease. The School Sisters of Notre Dame are participants in what is commonly known as the Nuns study. Dr. David Snowden is a famous researcher of Alzheimer's disease in this study.
This is one of my favorite sisters. This is Sister Mathia. And she has been in a variety of different publications regarding the Nun study: Life magazine, National Geographic, Time. This picture was taken when she was over 100 years old. And whenever these pictures would appear in magazines, she'd never tell her family about them, because she felt that pictures like this made her look old. So, and this is how Mathia looked at 104, 3 months before she died. And I think we'd all love to, look like this. She's happy, you can see. She's productive. Throughout her entire adult life, she knit a pair of mittens every day for the poor. What you can't see in this picture is there are 2 laywomen from the local town sitting on her bed, and she's teaching them how to knit. And it's sisters like this who really kind of grab some of the media's attention, because they really do offer hope. And they also, I think, lay out what's possible in old age. I'm convinced by my association with the Notre Dames that old age can be a time of great promise. It can be as fulfilling a stage of human life as childhood, as middle age, as teen years. But to really have a chance to live out the promise of old age, we've really got to deal with some of the health problems of old age. And overwhelmingly, those health problems of old age really have little to do with aging and almost everything to do with diseases. And we as humans really have the capability to do something about diseases.
Sister Mildred Lodicki assisted the sisters who actively participated in the Nuns study. She shares with us now.
You may wonder why Dr. Snowden chose a group of Catholic nuns to be part of his research. He found that the convent was the perfect place to find a group that would be easy to study because the sisters came from similar backgrounds. For many years they had eaten similar foods, they had the same educational background, they worked in similar careers, and they didn't smoke or drink alcohol, they didn't marry or have children. With these lifestyle variables canceled, it becomes easier to determine which biological factors make the difference between those persons who age quickly and those who don't.
Aging is inevitable, it's coming. You can't stop the clock. So I think you can look on this in a positive way or a negative way. Now that I am at a point where I can't walk as fast as I did, but I can still walk. My hearing might be somewhat impaired, but I can still hear with an aid. Aging for me has been a kind of a freeing thing because I'm free to do things that I could not do before. I have more time.
When Dr. Snowden's study began in 1991, he asked that the sisters be at least 75 years old by the end of that year, that they agree to periodic mental and physical evaluations, and that at the end of their life, when they die, they donate their brain for study.
Obviously, the School Sisters of Notre Dame have a long history of being educators, so their desire was to be able to educate in death as well as in life.
Of the 678 sisters who began in this program, there are only around 100 sisters who are still part of it, and they are all 90-plus years old now.
Sister, I need to put this belt around you. Place your toes right touching the red line on the floor. When I say go, walk to that stop sign as quickly and safely as you can. Ready, go. This year will be the 12th time that they are taking these assessments, and the value is that for the past 12 times, there is documentation of how they have progressed in their aging process. Sister, this is the last timed test. The object of this test is to open and close each door as quickly as possible. So when their brain is looked at, Dr. Snowden is able to discover, is their pattern just the normal aging process, or are there signs of dementia which may lead to Alzheimer's? Place your right hand on the paper. When I say go, completely open the door as quickly as you can. Ready, go. Ready, go. Ready, go. Good. Now carefully step down. The value is seeing the aging process of our sisters. As of 2007, they are all in their 90s. And one of the qualifications one of the requirements that is put in our book of protocol is never underestimate what a sister can do. And I am completely amazed over and over at what 90-year-olds are able to accomplish one of the various tasks that I give them to do.
David and other investigators have really done a great job, for example, demonstrating the importance of early childhood education in predicting susceptibility to Alzheimer's, as well as an active lifestyle in terms of minimizing risk for Alzheimer's. And so it has made some major contributions in how we understand various risk factors to Alzheimer's.
Even by the time the sisters retire, many are in extraordinarily good shape. They volunteer and participate in art activities and teach. In short, they keep themselves busy. It reinforces the Nuns study's original finding. Lifestyle plays a role in healthy cognitive functioning.
14, 9 times 3 is
42.
42, and 8 is 50, 51.
I think the study has value because it made me aware of how important it is to keep myself mentally and physically alert. I play Scrabble. I love it. I do puzzles, word-finding puzzles. I keep up with the news, and I'm interested in civic affairs. I read magazine articles, editorials, and I teach in the tutorial center. I think that has been an asset to me. I've been exercising daily for years. I still do. It isn't all that bad to be old.
I like to sew. I make my own clothes. And I like to figure out, give me a piece of material and a pattern and a sewing machine, and I'm in my seventh heaven. I can always find something to do. I'm never bored.
I see aging as a process which we all have to go through, and we take it as it comes. I really don't know why I'm living longer than some other people. I don't know what to attribute it to, but I do know that it'll change as time goes on, not perceptibly in a hurry, but we have to know that we can't always stay the same.
I'm 101. I was born in 1905. I decided to join this research study because I have always loved people. And I thought if I can help people, even after I'm dead, I will be happy. Well, I've been old quite a while. And as you grow older, you do what you can, like you did when you were in school. And if you didn't succeed, don't get upset about it. But we use what we got, and we will be able to always accomplish a lot.
In 1990, 4 years after starting the study, Snowden moved the research to the University of Kentucky when he took a job there. Now the study will be returning to its home base in Minnesota. Since it left, the study has expanded to include 5 SSND branches throughout the United States.
The original Nuns study was state-of-the-art 25 years ago, and we want to develop a Nuns study program that's state-of-the-art of 2013.
In an interdisciplinary approach, researchers from departments such as laboratory medicine and pathology, psychiatry, neurology, pediatrics, and the School of Public Health will all be involved in the Nuns study.
I think it continues to be a wonderful thing for the sisters to be involved in, and they are really proud of their accomplishments in being willing to be a part of this, because it's just not a matter of donating your brain, it's also a matter of going through regular testing.